Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Ky Mckeon, joined by the rest of the three-man weave crew, Jim Root and Matt Cox. Every Monday morning, we'll be dropping a new BBOC episode, talking all things betting in the world of college hoops. Today's episode, it's your standard formula. If you've listened to us before, we're talking big games of the week, mid-major games of the week, live dogs, favorite favorites, some spots, a trash section, of course, for you freaks out there, and a spotlight section. This week's spotlight, spoiler, the Ivy League. The Ivy League conference play begins. Going to dive into the smart teams of the world. How exciting. All right, let's get into it. Hello, hi, how are you? Big games, Monday and Tuesday is where we're looking. Matthew, Big Ten action. Nebraska and Ohio State. The Huskers have won 18 games in a row dating back to last year. That's a real fact. That's incredible. And USC takes on Michigan State. USC just got beat by Michigan by 30 points. They beat everyone by 30, but still pretty bad loss. And Sparty was the unlucky team to lose at Nebraska. Matthew, any thoughts on these two games? KenPom has Ohio State -1 against Nebraska, Michigan State -9 against USC.
Yes, Kai, we have some early openers from our fine sponsors at DraftKings. -1.5 Ohio State. I thought for sure this would be shaded toward Nebraska. I've mentioned this before. I think Ohio State, one of those Big Ten teams whose home court I just don't really respect. And frankly, I just don't think they're that good. And I know Nebraska feels like they're due for a bad game. They haven't really played one all year. I kind of think the Skurs go in there and get a win. If Ohio State's hot, that's probably the recipe for a win because they're going to shell off the paint. But I like the Skurs here, Mr. McKeon. It may be a spinny play, a square play, but why not? I don't trust Ohio State, especially at home.
I don't trust Ohio State either, Matthew. I'm gonna kind of lean that way. I actually am intrigued more by the totals in both of these games. I don't have a take on the side. I sort of think Michigan State just pummels USC, a shorthanded USC. Michigan State off the loss, incredible rebounding team. I think they can kind of beat up USC inside, but I'm gonna go with the over in Ohio State, Nebraska. I think that one gets up and down a little bit. Both teams have a lot of efficient ways to scoring. It's going to be a shootout, as most Nebraska games are. Over half the shots from the field in Nebraska games are from three on both ends of the floor. That's the way their defense dictates it. I think Ohio State can generally make those with Mobley, with Thornton, some skill in the front court. And then in the other game, I like the under a lot, Kai. It's going to be one I'm locking in here for one of my bets. I'm going to take the under in Michigan State and USC. Came to the year thinking USC would be more of a defensive team. Now that has been hampered a little bit by Marion Dickerson being out for the year, the reigning Horizon Defensive Player of the Year. He's not in the lineup. That does hurt, but they don't have Rodney Rice. They don't have Elijah Arenas back yet, so their shot creation is a little bit limited. They played an 84 possession game with Michigan
Yeah.
because who cares? Just get up and down, whatever. Michigan State's transition defense is always elite under Tom Izzo. You're not going to get a lot of easy buckets there. I think especially off a loss, Michigan State's going to be buckled in defensively. I think that game kind of slows a little bit, has some inefficiency with the size that the Spartans bring. I like under 150.5 there quite a bit. I'm going to lock that in.
I like it. Matthew, I know you're always a travel guy. Michigan State technically longer travel here for this game than USC, who I assume spent the weekend in the Mitten State in Michigan after playing Michigan. Not that it matters that much. I also think that Michigan State is going to cover this game. Their discipline, their work on the glass, I think prevails. And yeah, without Rodney Rice, USC just not the same animal here. I'm not very scared of them. In the Nebraska-Ohio State game, I just have a rule right now. I'm not stepping in front of the Husker train. They beat Illinois by 30 at Illinois. They can win on the road. This team is impressive. It's not your father's Nebraska.
Wait, they did not beat
Yeah,
Illinois by
maybe
30.
Excuse me, did I say that wrong?
they
They
beat
beat
Illinois by
Wisconsin by
one.
30 at home, and they
By
beat
three.
Illinois
They beat Illinois by three. They beat
It's like,
Wisconsin by
whoa.
30. I got my lines mixed up there. What a win it would have been, though, had they done that. Okay, they
I mean,
won
we can
at
put that in
Illinois.
theory.
They
Yeah.
won at
But to
Illinois
your
by
point, Kai,
three.
I think they were getting like 9 in that game.
Yeah, they were.
They covered like handily. And the one thing is they did play Tuesday, Friday, where Ohio State only played Friday. So you could maybe there's a little bit of a wear and tear on those legs as they go into the kind of the 2 day off back-to-back segment in the Big Ten schedule. But I'm not looking into it. I like the Skurs.
All right, sounds like Scourge from Matt. I'm sitting fence on both those games, but Tuesday, I'm looking at a couple things here. We're starting off with Duke at Louisville. Best two teams in the ACC question mark, says Ky. Louisville just lost to Stanford, and Duke has been life and death with Georgia Tech. They couldn't extend against Florida State and only won by 4. Lipscomb had them tied at half. It's not quite the same dominant Duke team we've seen in the early going. And then Michael Brown, his status looms large for Louisville. Jim, I think this is a pretty major spot for Louisville if they can take it and hit shots. I'm just not sure who guards Mr. Cameron Boozer.
Yeah, I wanted to bet Duke here because you got Louisville coming back from the West Coast, going all the way from California after playing the Cal Stanford twofer. But Duke just leaves me feeling cold lately, man. They did not look good against Florida State, couldn't defend. Did not look good against Georgia Tech, couldn't defend. Could not defend Texas Tech and their 4 players. I mean, that's 3 straight like really poor efforts. They were only up like 1 at halftime on Lipscomb. I don't know what to think about Duke right now. There's a big hullabaloo being made about them playing the 2 point guard lineup, playing Foster and Caden Boozer together. Is that really impressive? Is it working? Like they're not getting stops right now. I guess the offense is working well. They've got some big performances. Evans had a big one to help beat Florida State. But Matt, I do not get a lot of inspiration out of Duke. I am sitting all the way out on this one. I'm guessing Brown Jr. will play. That's just like a hunch. I feel like his handlers will let him showcase against Duke. But I don't have a strong enough take, a strong enough read on either of these teams right now, given the travel situation for Louisville and Duke's like bad play recently.
I think Louisville wins this game. I really do. I'm with you, Jim. It's the last 3.5 games, so 7 halves of basketball for Duke are just not been very good. Defensively is where it's been a concern. Louisville, if Duke tries to cover up their man-to-man issues with that zone they showcased a little bit against Georgia Tech and I think against Florida State, Louisville's gonna shred that. I think Louisville has multiple mismatch opportunities with just how the perimeter's playing, especially with how good Wooley's been in Brown's absence. I think Louisville gets them. I know they have the long trip back, but they have an extra day off. Duke's got to come pretty quick from Tallahassee, only 2 days off, where you get 3 days off for the Cardiac Cardinals. Off that loss, Ky, I think they get it done. Duke's 3-point coverage defensively has not been good. They've let shooters get open. It's not been like a fluky teams that just made shots. Like, no, they've let some guys get open looks. Like, I've watched it. It's not been great.
Good, I agree. Louisville for me, official play. Adding Louisville to the card. Ha, the card. Get it? For the Cardinals. Okay.
Does Brown have to play for you to be in? I'm curious.
Yes, I
I'm
would.
indifferent.
Yes.
I'm indifferent.
I
Is
think I
that
need
weird?
Brown, Matt. I think I need Brown. Yeah. What can Brown do for you? For me, he can help cover this game.
There you go.
Moving on, Big East. We got Big East and Big 12 to finish off Tuesday. St. John's at Butler. St. John's just -2 per Kimpom. Would assume they'd take a little bit of money in this game, but heck, they're off a really bad loss to Providence. That was shocking that they blew that game. Their resume is pretty weak from a tourney perspective, down to like 24 in Kimpom. Butler, Matt, is 1-3 in the Big East. Typical year for them again, frankly. They look promising, but they just can't win in conference play. I think their length and foul discipline, ability to rebound, can hold the Johnnies at bay a little bit. And certainly shooting is a big problem for the St. John's Red Storm. But do you believe in a turnaround here? If so, if you believe in St. John's getting off the schneid, it's a short price to lay right here.
I like St. John's. The price is going to be the question. Man, just a putrid offensive performance. What are they, like 30% from inside the arc? They missed 14 free throws. Yeah, they grabbed a bunch of offensive rebounds, but that's sort of a flawed stat. When you miss so many, you have a pretty good chance to grab a lot of misses yourself. Butler's just laid eggs in key home spots. I thought the Villanova game, obviously we know Villanova's pretty good, but then the Providence game, I'm sorry, the Villanova game and then the Boise game. Sorry, the Boise was the one that. So it's twice Butler's been, I think, in kind of key good home spots, and they've just sort of, they've kind of not really responded. I think St. John's comes in and just punks them on the glass. Now Butler's been pretty good on the glass this year, but I think there's a real edge, and I think a real bounce back. Patino lights fire under frustrated team angle here for the Johnnies. Kind of a square angle, but that's where I lean.
Yeah, Johnny's better get after it on the glass because their first shot offense stinks. Like their guards do not make their big men better. It's like, uh-oh, give it to Zuby and hope he can go to work one-on-one. I don't know if you guys saw Bryce Hopkins get absolutely eviscerated off the bounce for the clinching basket against Providence. Like just reaching in and got crossed up and gave up a dunk, I think, to turn it to a 4-point game. Probably satisfying for Friar fans after what he did to them and didn't really play. But I think Butler's lack of Big East talent is starting to peek in a little bit here. Like, I think Bizjack is a Big East player. I think Ajayi is clearly a Big East player. But after that, man, not a Traore guy. Kaiser has started to make shots. That was his whole reputation coming to Maryland last year, so that helps. But not a lot of depth. They lost Jalen Jackson, point guard, and they've had to go to Stink, who has been okay, but not really what you want from your starting point guard. Only played 14 minutes against Villanova. They're trying to figure things out with him at that spot. I think St. John's bounces back as well. A motivated Patino chewing out those guys after they really blew that Providence game. They were up double digits a couple times in the second half and just could not close. Had some terrible offensive possessions down the stretch. So yeah, I'm with these guys. I think I'd lay like 3 with St. John's, but if it
Yeah, no
starts to
more.
run away with no Jackson, I wouldn't go past that.
Is there a small chance he could come back? I saw, I need to double check my research there. I think there's a chance he could return. Not probably not this game. I think they have a week off after this game. It makes more sense for him to come back after that break, I would think, if that's even in the cards. Just something to keep it because that's gonna be a huge money mover in the market if he makes a Bill Murray-esque return here.
Not
Man, I
sure.
thought he
They
was
need
out
him.
for the season. I
I
didn't
heard
know he
out for
was.
season 2, but then it was sort of a
All right,
about
yeah, gonna have
face.
to
I'll
monitor.
I'll I'll double check that real quick, but just something to keep an eye on. Small chance, but still would be a pretty key.
Yeah,
Okay.
lean Johnny's for me, not an official play. Texas Tech Houston. Houston -6 per Kim Pum. Crazy overtime game last year for the people that remember. I think we were at a bachelor party during this game, I want to say. Um,
The
Texas
nut kick
Tech,
game.
yeah, the nut kick game. That's right. Someone, yeah, it was a Toppin that
Yeah,
kicked
like
someone in the
Yes.
4 minutes.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yes, and he missed the entire game. Texas Tech still won in overtime. Nuts, absolutely nuts game. Get it? No bench, no problem lately for Texas Tech. They killed Oklahoma State without their bench, and I guess Tyree Bryan did play a little bit more in that game. They hit 17 threes. That certainly helps. But Christian Anderson, Jim, gets a major test in this game against Houston's perimeter defense. We know Texas Tech is kind of weak up front in terms of depth and on the boards, and that's bad against Houston. I kind of lean Houston here, but I don't really trust them laying more than like a couple possessions this season, at least.
Yeah, they ended up, I think they won by 7. They covered some numbers in the
The late
Cincinnati game
fork,
because it got
yeah.
bet down. Yeah, didn't really deserve that one. I'm thinking about this game a little bit in the way I thought about Iowa at Michigan State, where Michigan State took the ball out of Sturtz's hands a ton by sending 2 to the ball on ball screens, forcing other guys to create and beat them. I think that's exactly what Houston's going to do. They trap real hard in ball screens, get the ball out of Anderson's hands. Maybe Toppin has a big game in the short roll because of that. But if it's not Anderson, there's nobody really making plays on the perimeter. Watts has played a little bit better. It's kind of the jumbo distributing wing forward that they need. But Petty hasn't been like a true point guard. He's more just a shooter. And God knows Atwell and Brian can't really do anything with the ball in their hands. So I think that's going to be kind of a concern scheme wise for them. I do lean Houston here, Matt. The physicality, I think, kind of wears down the front court. That's just top in right now. I don't think we're getting Bamgoy back. I don't think a Quintock or Mosley are going to play. So it's going to be a lot on Mr. Toppin to rebound. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a challenge against this relentless
Yep.
Houston front line.
Yeah, I think Houston wins, but laying a big number, I don't know if I feel great about that. Kingston Flemings has been great, and obviously you feel great about JoJo Tugler throwing him on top. And is that going to be the matchup, or is he going to be? Is that two? Would they throw one of their true bigs on him?
I think they go
Sam's,
Tugler.
they
Yeah.
gotta go Tugler, right? That
Yeah.
just put your best guy on their best guy, and you cut off the one of Texas Tech's 2 role shot creators, um, and you have multiple guys to throw on Anderson. Comes down to offense for Houston, Kai. We know they haven't really executed really efficiently, but man, with how well Flemings is playing,
Hmm.
with him and Uzan, I think they can kind of course correct some of the shoddy perimeter play that we've seen Houston look mortal at times this season. But still, I think Houston wins, but I don't know if I'm gonna lay 9 or I don't know, 8, 9, 10
God, you think it'd be that?
high.
6
Wow.
at
Maybe it's
KenPom?
eight.
You think it'd be
Eight's my
that?
guess.
Wow.
And maybe it gets there. I don't know. Whoever's got the
6
the
on
bit,
Ken Palm. Sorry. Yeah, I thought it'd be like 7 or 8.
yeah.
Maybe that's too high. We'll see.
Yeah, whoever has the biggest balls will guard Toppin, so Samson can try to get him to kick him again, get him out of the game again. That's the
There you
key.
go.
Mid-major games, a lot of good ones actually on Monday, Tuesday. A nice treat for the early week for people getting back in the work swing. How about Stephen F. Austin at McNeese, the 2 best teams in the Southland this season? McNeese is -8 per KenPom, but SFA has the lead in the conference. They're 5-0. McNeese dropped a game to Incarnate Word, but rest assured, they are very, very good. Matt Brower's been very impressive at the helm of SFA. They've been impressive winning by margin, not just winning games, they've been winning by margin. Matt, is a big defensive battle. Advantage SFA certainly on the glass. The Jacks are also actually handling the ball this year instead of turning it over like they have been under Kyle Keller of teams past. But it's a big test against McNeese's pressure. Keon Thompson is awesome, but McNeese is a very, very, very good team despite the 40-point loss to Michigan. Matt, who do you lean in this game, or do you have a take?
I kind of like SFA if the number is like 8 or higher,
Eight
but
is a lot, in my opinion.
I think 8 is a lot. I think SFA is very real, and I don't know if I trust McNeese. I know Larry Johnson's been awesome, but still, it's a rookie creator. Maybe he's not going to be fully buttoned up in a big conference game, especially with how well SFA is playing. I just think that Brower's just been a terrific coach. I think he's like, not saying he's better than Keller, but he certainly has sustained, if not maybe added to what they do. And again, from what I've seen of them this year, like what they've shown me. So slightly in there, just if it's 8 or higher, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like SFA too. Not going to lock that in as one of the show plays, but really lean hard that way. I think matchup wise, there's a lot of things going for them. They have an elite interior defense with Colonel. I think that's how it's pronounced. Colonel. I mean, that's how it's spelled like the military position. So that's what I'm gonna call him. But he's a monster shot blocker, and that's why SFA is top 20 in the country in 2-point percentage defense. McNeese really wants to score around the rim, offensive glass, driving. They don't take a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of threes outside of Archie. So I think they're going to end up running into the long arms of the law inside near the paint, and that lets Stephen F. Austin hang around. It's very weird that it's not high pressure, but also turn it over SFA. It's a
Yes.
completely different footprint or blueprint of a team this year, and I think that actually helps them hang around.
I had a double take when I saw their turnover numbers. I was like, oh, that's actually not that bad. Good for them. Good for the Jacks. In the CAA, the Coastal Athletic Conference, William and Mary is the class of the league right now, or at least one of them. 2-0 in the conference. They are visiting Charleston. William and Mary -2 per KenPom on the road. Charleston also 2-0 in the league. How good is Brian Earl, Jim? Number one offensive tempo in the country, but still pretty tough on defense this season. Charleston, after a rough start, is now 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games. They've won 5 in a row, so they're looking more like the team we thought they would be under Chris Mack this season. Thoughts in this game?
I took Charleston as a slight dog against Elon last week on Wednesday, and that went well. So I think this team is trending up, like you said. They got Colby Duggan back, got him to debut, and he's a big piece. He's an All-CAA guy at Campbell last year. But man, as you mentioned, Earl is so good. I hope Pitt and Rutgers, et cetera, have him on speed dial heading into the offseason because I think he can make things happen at the power conference level. His style is fun, it's exciting, and it clearly gets wins. What he did at Cornell, what he's done at William and Mary. I'm kind of a buyer, Matthew, but Charleston's trending up, even with Mr. Dean being out for the year, the incredible athlete that he is. With Hickman finally in there and fully situated into the lineup, Duggan being into the starting lineup. I think Charleston does trend back up, so I got to stay away from this one because I think I like both teams.
I'm going to bet Charleston here officially. I don't like being the shooting variance monster chaser here, but William and Mary, fifth best defensive 3-point percentage, and they're not like exactly ball hawking. Like they're sort of kind of daring you to shoot from the outside. I think they've gotten a little bit, a little bit of smoke and mirror, I think, in their defensive success so far this season. And Charleston now healthy, especially with Hickman, kind of get back into full strength. You got Dugan back. Jalen Counter has really emerged. I think you're starting to see the best version of this Charleston team, which we knew was super talented. They had that weird like internal turmoil thing where they fired an assistant coach after some, just a really tough start to the non-con. I think this is where they hit their stride. Good matchup. They got hammered by William Mary last year at Williamsburg. I think they get some revenge this year. Some payback here. I like the Cougars, Kai.
Minus 1.5 at DraftKings,
Yeah, I
Matthew.
see minus one and a half at DK. I think
Mm.
I laid up to like 3. No higher.
Whoa.
Anything on 3 is just like you're
Oh,
reaching
Charleston's
to
favored right now?
Yeah,
Charleston's
Charleston is
favorite.
Wow.
favored.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
Kai, I'd ask
yeah. You can't go
you
crazy there. Ken has it.
William Mary too.
Yes,
what would
correct.
you guys have made this line to start the season?
Yeah, it'd be Charleston 6, 7.
6. Yeah,
Something
I think
like
6 or
that. I
7.
might have
Right.
it 7 or 8. Yeah. So
It's a good play. Yeah, yeah. We like to think about that in terms of conference resets. Will we make the game preseason?
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not.
Yes.
Uh, Two games on Tuesday I want to highlight really quickly. One in the A10, George Washington is heading to Dayton, very exciting game. And then Matt's favorite league, the MAC, Bowling Green is going to Kent State. The Dayton game, hosting George Washington, both teams, again, a theme for this section, 2-0 in the A10. Both teams expected to be contenders in this league, and they have so far. I just have a very hard time seeing them coming into Dayton Arena, George Washington, Matthew, the Revolutionaries, and getting a win. I know the Flyers haven't been convincing this season, but they've done it with defense, and if you can obviously stop the explosive George Washington offense, stop Rafael Castro in the middle, which I think Dayton's a little more equipped to do than most teams, I think you can find success against them. The home court is so good. Thoughts on Dayton, George Washington, Matt, or if you want to veer towards Kent State, feel free.
Yeah, just worth noting the absence of Letang tough for Dayton. I think he's a key
Would be
a
very,
floor
yes.
stretcher, especially in this matchup with G-Dub's bigs. I think he can create some offensive real estate because Dayton's great when they can get those wings downhill, especially in the half court. There's going to be kind of cramped floor spacing without him. Not sure if he's going to play or not. Um, I think he was on crutches, but
Precious on New Year's Eve, knee
yeah,
thing. I guess no.
I'm guessing no.
Yeah.
Um, don't want to put a bunch of stock in one key guy, but I do like Dayton if he's in there, Kai. I do think he's kind of a key piece in this matchup. But if until I have some certainty, we'll probably stay away. George Washington still, I think, their A games, their fastball's still really good. So I'm just kind of scares me, spooks me a little bit.
Yeah, GW is loaded talent wise. I mean, if Latong's not in there for
Deep.
Dayton, Castro can really eat around the paint. He is a monster on both ends, around the rim, gets to the line a ton, eats on the glass. I think if they don't have the big 7 footer, then Dayton could be in a little bit of trouble. But man, yeah, Kai, we've been to UD Arena, we've seen the environment
Mhm.
there, and credit to Dayton for getting out of Loyola with a win.
Yeah,
That game was not going well. They're down their big man. Loyola is playing much better in league play, and they just skated by, scraped out with the win. And I think that actually matters for a team that, probably was seeing that Loyola is outside the top 250 in Ken Palm. This is
Mm.
probably a pushover, and not really anymore. But this one's true toss up to me. I don't have a take on it. The Tong status matters a ton.
Go Dayton Flyers.
I think
That's
he's
the
out. I'm
best.
just reading a little more about this. Grant
Probably out.
said no timetable. I'm thinking he's out for this game. So
I'm staying away if he's out. I don't like that at all. Just real quickly on Kent State Bowling Green. Kent is -1 per Ken Palm here. Bowling Green's just been impressive to me. I know they lost to Miami of Ohio, but Miami of Ohio is beating everybody right now, including Akron. 11th in the country in turnover rate on the defensive end. That's been their strength. I think that gives Kent State a lot of fits. They just have had a hard time handling the ball, Jim. But of course, Kent State physical as always. They're going to live the line. A nice advantage for each team in this game. Any thoughts here?
Man, not a ton here. I kind of this is a preseason line game. I'd have Kent State like
Yep, same.
multiple point favorite here. Probably like five or so. But Bowling Green's been really good. Credit to Todd Simon for what he's been able to figure out with those pieces. Built kind of an inside out defense with Glover, the D2 transfer coming in and giving them some real shot blocking. It's complemented Towns well in that front court. And having the shot blocking matters with how they're trying to pressure. I think Kent State could have a little success on the offensive glass. I know Bowling Green's rebounded fairly well defensively, but Gillespie is just such a monster. One man wrecking crew on the boards, arguably the best mid major rebounder in the country. So, Matt, lean to Kent State at home with the team that I thought was better in the preseason, but I'm not ready to rubber stamp it with a bet.
yeah, slightly in Kent State. Last two games, I know Purdue's Purdue. I did think they would put up a little more of a fight in that game, and then to follow that up with a real clunker against NIU, who I know is better this year, but still only winning that game by 4. They basically won because they got a pretty nice whistle, shot 40 free throws. I think they're like 11 and 50 from 3 the last two games. They need to start making some shots because Bowling Green, and they play what I think Simon calls that monster zone. I think there's going to be some opportunities to make shots, but Kent State's, I know their offensive rebounding is a good kind of a remedy for a cold shooting night, but still, I think to feel good about backing Kent State, they need to make some shots here. So I'll probably stay away here, Kai.
Probably stay away. Lean towards Kent State slightly, though. I like these preseason presets, if you will, getting back in the swing of things in conference play. Okay, live dog section, fellas. Quick flashback last week. We were all over Cal Baptist on the spread. They did not win outright, but they did cover against Utah Valley if you got down on them. The other takes, not quite as good. Matt did mention Tarleton last week against Arlington. Not sure that was an official play for anybody, but Wazoo didn't get it done against Seattle. Bill and Mary smoked Towson, so Towson was one that we all liked last week. Did not work out. And then NIU failed against Buffalo. This week, fellas, I'm going to lay out four for you real quick. If you like anything else, hey, bring them to the table. Rutgers is hosting Oregon. Now, I know Rutgers is, I think, a 4.5 point dog, so not that big of a dog here, not a big money line price, but hosting Oregon. Oregon might still be shorthanded without Shellstad, and they got a little bit fortunate against Maryland with the Terps shooting 6 for 32 from three. In the SWAC, you have Texas Southern +7, I believe, is the line right now in DraftKings, or if it's not out yet, it's around that +8 at KenPom. They have not beaten a D1 team, Texas Southern. They've been a little bit hurt, but the SWAC is pretty wild and high variance, and I know Johnny Jones always has talent there. Then on Tuesday, I'm looking at a Big Ten game, Minnesota, +6 per KenPom hosting Iowa, the Barn, a house of horrors. They beat Indiana in this place, and Iowa, of course, 0-2 in true road games. They've played some pretty good teams on the road, but hey, I'm gonna throw it out there. And then finally, South Carolina, +10 per KenPom on the road at LSU. Potentially no Deaton Thomas again for LSU. I think South Carolina is a tough physical team that won't go away and at least cover a spread if it's near double digits. Without Thomas, it would not be, but we'll see when the lines actually come out. Matthew, I'll give you the first crack here. Do you like any of those four games, or are you going elsewhere on the card?
The Gamecocks intrigued me. I only have one, and I'm going off the bulletin board here. I like Texas A&M, another SEC matchup. They got Auburn
Wow, opposite
on
there.
deck. Auburn just went to war with Georgia, and I think A&M just they're going to have about two or three games where they, like I said, they bang in 16, 17 threes, and no one's going to beat them on that night. And so I'm just kind of trying to throw a dart here, betting into the variance, high-end tail nature that this A&M team plays. I know Noah Mbako is definitely a concern in this matchup, given the strength of Auburn's wings and kind of power forwards there, and Keyshawn Hall specifically. But still, I just think this might be a game they come out and shoot it well, Jim. So I like the Aggies. Again, just kind of a dart throw there. Just some pocket change, nothing substantial.
Wow, neither of you going for the 25-point home dog Penn State in conference against Michigan, huh? Can't quite get there against the juggernaut bulldozer that is the Wolverines. Ky, I like South Carolina on the number. I'm not going to dabble money line there, but I think they're going to keep it feisty in that game. I like the way that they slow it down is such a differential in that league. They're more comfortable in the half court, and they make teams play at their pace. Vanderbilt took care of them, but man, if there's no Thomas, I know they were feisty with, and they competed with Texas A&M without him, but that can really wear on him. He's their big time creator in the backcourt. I definitely like South Carolina there. If he's out, give me 10 there. I will take it. I'm going to put that down unofficially. I'd probably only go down to like 9 if he's out, but we'll see what the line actually lands at. I wish I was getting more points with Rutgers. I want to see it's 4.5 at DraftKings right now.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I guess that seems to price in Shellstad not playing. And I know Oregon has plummeted in analytical rankings, and that's part of why like they've just got these short lines. But as you mentioned, it's a second game on the East Coast. You know, perhaps the travel wears on them a little bit. Look what happened to Louisville in their second game on the West Coast, all the way across the country. I think that can wear on the teams a bit. I just wish I got a few more points there because Rutgers is kind of a disjointed mess a lot of the time. And I'm not willing to back them unless Shellstad is out and I get 5 points. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
I also need at least 5, and money line is, yeah, bridge too far there. I think it's a good spot, and we can add them to the spots later on. But yeah, I am taking South Carolina though officially on the spread, maybe a little sprinkle on the money line. Okay,
You rascal.
yeah, I'm a rascally rabbit. Favorite favorites, sponsored by DraftKings, is our next section. Last week we gave you a bunch of options. Don't need to go through all of them, but suffice to say, Michigan is still smashing people. And that's one on Tuesday that I've added to this because I say, why not, is my question. Why not Michigan -23? Will be higher than that, most likely against Penn State. No one can stop this team. They're 8-1 against the spread their last 9 games. They've won 20 plus game. Sorry, they've won 9 of 10 games by 20 plus, and that 10th one was by 18. This team is absolutely crazy right now. So I say, why not? My other favorite faves, guys, Yale at Brown is one I looked at. I think Yale's just in a different class of the Ivies. We'll talk about the Ivies a little later in the spotlight section. And then finally, Jim, how about Florida -7 per KenPom hosting Georgia? An angry Gator squad in a high possession game. Could call it a spot if you want, but it's a favorite of mine.
Yeah, I'm all over Florida. I am very curious to see what the number is going to end up there, but man, it's a home run spot. Angry after the close loss at Mizzou. They're 0-1 in conference play. You get 1-0 Georgia coming to town, who
Mhm.
just won an overtime, insane, dramatic game against Auburn. Florida lost at Georgia last year, where they got down big, came all the way back, and couldn't quite get over the hump at the end, despite having a 13-0 run in the final 5 minutes to take the lead. Georgia ended up with the win. I think that's a great spot for Florida. I think they win by double digits. I'll lay up to, gosh, let's say 9 there. So I'll take the Gators. I know Georgia is better than I expected. Cyril is a total freak. Like that guy is
Yep.
basically Jalen Duren all
Yeah.
over again from Memphis. Like just versatile, athletic, all over the glass. But Florida can match that front court tenacity and size. And I will just sit here and stubbornly think that someday Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland will make open threes. They
Mm.
bricked a ton of them against Mizzou, but man, I can't feasibly see this team continuing to shoot this poorly all season. It's a really good spot for them, so I like them there. And yes, I will take Michigan up to -25 because why the hell not?
Yeah,
How is Penn State stopping that team? I have no idea how.
they're not. Matt.
Yeah, Penn State's like kind of like Utah last year, Fresno this year, like long but super slow and just really bad defensively. Like just having a positionally big team does not make you good defensively. I think Michigan completely exposed that. I'm not going to take that because I'm always too scared to lay big numbers. I like your Yale link, Kai. Nothing official, but that's probably my strongest, most conviction. Florida thing, keep an eye on this Cyril. I know he got injured late in that game. I don't know if it's going to keep him out, but
I think he
obviously
came
that's
back in,
he
but
came
yeah,
back
he's
in, right?
yeah.
Just something to keep an eye on there. Because yeah, without him, talk about a major edge in the front court for the Gators. But even with him, I think the experience, I think just the sheer girth and physicality could bother Cyril, and frankly behind him. I know Absent's been good, but still, that Florida should have an edge on the glass on that one.
Yeah, call it Florida official play for me as well. Like Jim mentioned, probably till 9. Nine's probably a number. Lane doubles is tough. I think Georgia's very good this year, but this game's gonna be high possession, a lot of points. All right, that was favorites presented by DraftKings. We move on to the spots section. The Missouri Valley spots last week, fellas, that we mentioned were money. In fact, they were 4-0 against the spread. That was the 0-2 teams against the 2-0 teams. SIU, Evansville, Indiana State, and Valpo all came through. If you went with that trend, the other summary there, Marquette still sucks. They did not get it done against Seton Hall. Hey, covered today against UConn, I think, barely. So the Golden Eagles getting on the board. Congrats. Spots this week, fellas. We mentioned Rutgers. It's intriguing with the Ducks, their second game on the East Coast. The West Coast teams in the Big Ten really did kind of shit the bed in these spots last year. Now they already won their first game against Maryland. That bucks the trend a little bit, but I have to think it takes its toll, like Matt, like Jim said. Tuesday, excuse me, Nevada hosting San Diego State after the Aztec emotional 3 overtime win against Boise. We mentioned Florida above. Matt likes A&M. I like Auburn -6 per KenPom. The 0-1 hosting the 1-0 SEC team. I think Auburn is actually pretty good. I am very skeptical that A&M is any good this season. I think they got an injured LSU team and couldn't get away from them. Those are mine, Jim, but have any other ones to add on the spots? Do you like those? What do you say?
I'm very much on your corner with Auburn.
Yeah.
Matt, I guess I see the high variance ups and downs of Texas A&M, but I like the 0-1, 1-0, Auburn back home. I think that's a really good spot for the Tigers in the jungle. That's where Texas A&M could make 4 threes and get blown out. They're so up and down. I love the Oklahoma State spot. I will be betting on
Oh,
them. They're -1 per KenPom. They just lost to Texas Tech, that insane shooting game. The Red Raiders just rained down fire from beyond the arc. UCF is off a court storm against Texas, and now they have to go to Stillwater, Oklahoma midweek on a Tuesday. I love Oklahoma State there, Matthew. I think UCF is riding way too high, so I'm going to lock that in officially. Oklahoma State also a little bit healthier than they have been in recent games. The other one I'm thinking about is Wisconsin -2 against UCLA. They just got thrashed in the second half by Purdue. I know Wisconsin's a mess, but so is UCLA right now. And you know McCronin loves to have an excuse to whine. And if they get swept a central time zone road trip. He'll have plenty to talk about in the press conference after. I just don't trust Wisconsin's athleticism and skill beyond Blackwell, beyond Boyd. So I'm going to stay away from that. I think it's worth looking at for some people if you're a little more of a believer in the Badgers than I am. But for me, I'm going to just stick with that Oklahoma State spot.
I think that's the best pure spot. I Oklahoma State's defense really, but I think that was a miss in my handicap. You look at who they hadn't played anybody actually legitimate offensively. And I know Texas Tech shot the lights out, but man, I thought they were all over the place, like very discombobulated, kind of what we saw with Lutz's defense last year. So that was concerning. I do think that's a great spot, though. I'll just add one more to the list, Kaya. Not an official play for me, but close. Minnesota against Iowa at home.
Mm.
I know Iowa coming off that UC. It felt like a big game for Iowa. Like that was a ruckus crowd. Played awesome in the first half. Had to kind of withstand a late run from UCLA. Minnesota's been kind of feisty. I think at home, the barn, Kai, as you know, you're a
Hmm.
big barn guy. That could be kind of a house of
Big barn
horrors
guy.
for teams that come in a little bit sluggish. I think this could be a Nico Medved special. This game is very close. Obviously, talent gap is not substantial here either. So
Yeah,
Can I
six.
mention one more?
Yeah, Jim.
Um, it's Wednesday, but just because I talked about the UCF off the court storm, I think SMU court stormed against UNC. I'm not
Mhm.
positive,
yes, I think
but
they did.
they go to Clemson. It was also SMU's first Q1 win in like 3 calendar years.
Yeah.
I think there could be a letdown coming there against a veteran Tiger team. So just for people on Wednesday handicapping, I don't know
And
if
Duke is on deck too to follow on Saturday, Jim. So there you go.
yeah,
Wow.
really good
Hmm.
spot for Clemson there.
Good eye, boys. Way to watch the ball. I am adding Auburn and Florida as official plays to my, excuse me, and Oklahoma State. I already added Florida. Jim convinced me.
Come on
Oklahoma
over.
State. I'm
Ride the
in.
Cowboys. Let's do it.
I'm in. Okay, trash section. Trash section. Last week we chose Delaware State and Rutgers. Del State covered against Rutgers. So congrats to the Hornets on that game. This week, not really many choices on Monday, Tuesday. Again, it's a beautiful Monday, Tuesday slate. I chose Georgetown and DePaul, fellas, just because these teams are sad. The programs still remain in misery. They're both outside the top 100 again. Matt, my gut says Georgetown actually gets this one done. Obviously, both teams are pretty desperate. Hey, DePaul just covered as a favorite against Xavier. I don't see him doing it again. You give me 3 points, I'm taking the Hoyas.
I think back to Paul a few more times this year. I think there's like against the zombie teams of the Big East, which I would call Georgetown, frankly, one of those teams at this point. We'll see if Vince Iwuchukwu makes a emphatic return. It seems like they miss him a ton. I didn't think they'd be okay without him, but Georgetown clearly has not been the same without his services. I think DePaul wins this game. I think DePaul against Georgetown, Xavier, Marquette, and I might even put Butler in that mix. And if they keep trending the wrong direction, I think they're going to be a kind of a sneaky middle tier Big East team as the schedule plays out. Which isn't
I
saying
think
much this year, obviously, but
this is perfect where both teams are like very top heavy rosters. Like I like the top three on both teams.
yeah.
And I'm not sure how invested the team is in like actually having success in this Big East season right now. I'm going to stay away from this one, Kai. It is truly trashy. I don't have a great angle on it. Iwuchukwu returning would matter. I don't know if he's going to be back. I would keep monitoring that. But DePaul is missing their key freshman Cruz McClure last game, so it's still impressive that they were able to take care of Xavier without him. But it really for them, it just comes down to how well do Gunn, Blocker, and Benson play. Like that. That's it.
Mm.
It's their whole game.
Yeah, lean Hoyas there for me. Nothing official. That's the trash. Don't worry about the trash. Okay, spotlight section that finishes out, fellas, for this week. I chose the Ivy League because it's atypical. They play on Mondays. They do it a couple times per year. This year, a little bit more. But conference play starts on Monday. Just a quick snapshot of the league, and I might ask you guys a couple teams you're watching or themes you're watching, overarching stories for this conference play. Setting the scene really quick. Yale, by far the best team, 50 spots ahead of the next team in KenPom, projected to win the league by a couple games. They are the class of this conference, and I think they're going to do very, very well against the number as well in this league. So keep an eye on them. Again, we kind of like them against Brown on Monday. Princeton is the best ATS team at 10-4, but they have a negative 1 point cover margin. It's like skin of the teeth every game. However, I've watched this team for some reason in the last couple games. They're young, they can shoot, and I think they're going to be really good once they're healthy. This is a riser for me. They're the second worst team in this league per KenPom. I think they really rise up the rankings, and I think, Jen, they keep covering games.
Yeah, I'm going to be betting on Princeton probably a fair amount in league play. I think Dalen Davis should be back fairly soon. He's like their most veteran, consistent scorer and creator. And him being out has actually allowed a lot of those young guys to figure out roles. And even the preseason, Henderson, especially with Caden Pierce sitting out, Xavier Lee transferring, Mitch Henderson was like, we're going to experiment in the
Hmm.
non-con. Like, I am going to figure out what lineups work, play a bunch of different guys. And he's done that, and remarkably, they are 10 and 4 ATS. I kind of thought they were a fade in the
It's
non-con, but
amazing.
as you mentioned,
Yeah.
they have barely hung on in a few. I think you see them charge forward a little bit in league play. They've got Penn on Monday. Looking at that line at DraftKings, and it's Princeton -1.5 with juice heavily on that, -118. I'm probably going to bet Princeton there. I want to see if Dalen Davis plays, but even without him, I might lay 1.5.
I actually have a bet here Monday as well. I like Cornell, Mr. McKeon.
I was going to mention Cornell, Matthew. Cornell, actually league worst ATS team, 4-7, but awesome offense, terrible defense. Go ahead.
There's no, I'm not seeing a lineup from DK yet. I'm guessing it's going to be around two. Columbia's been terrific. This is kind of a battle of one team is dominates the turnover, or and the other team dominates the glass, right? So if the Big Red can hold their own on the boards, which they haven't really been as good this year. They lost some key bodies the last couple of seasons. But then Columbia has not been great holding on to the basketball either. So they've sort of been careless. And I think with Cornell's pressure, while it's not as I think suffocating as it has been in years past, I think that's going to be the key tug of war here. 4 p.m. tip, Ky, early start, maybe a slight edge to the home team here, kind of an unorthodox kind of shotgun start. I think the Big Red back at home, they've been away from like 3 straight weeks. Crazy schedule. I think they get this one done.
I
I'm gonna
agree,
go head to
actually.
head. I'm
Oh,
gonna go head to head with
oh,
both of you.
okay. One to
I will
two.
take Columbia. Give me
Mm,
Columbia, baby. I'll
yeah.
put it on the board. I'm gonna take it.
Columbia, biggest surprise in the league. So Kevin Hovey, their new coach, the former Florida assistant, he's been awesome. They have a 5.6 cover margin right now, average cover margin. So they've been great. And they're up to number two in KenPom in the Ivy League. So rebounding juggernauts, Matt mentioned, they're top 35 in both ends on offense and defense. Really, really fun team this season. So yeah, Gems on Columbia, Matt and Ky leaning towards Cornell there. Other teams in this league, really quick. Brown has actually had the best cover margin per game this year at 8 points, which is crazy. Defense is the name of their game. They're the least fun team to watch, I would say, in the Ivy. Dartmouth is the worst team in the league, but they shoot a ton of threes. Number three 3-point attempt rate in the country. And then Penn, fellas, looks pretty feisty despite losing everyone. Fran McCaffrey is in charge of that program now. They need Ethan Roberts back. TJ Power clearly found his level after failing at Duke and Virginia. Finally, Harvard. They brought everyone back, but there's no depth. 351st in the country in bench minutes. It's a high variance team that I think will pull some haymakers and beat some good teams in this conference, but also Jim lose to Dartmouth. Any closing thoughts from you on the Ivy, any of those teams?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna be a buyer on Brown. With Landon Lewis back, he's played
It's
7
big.
games now, including a couple non D1s. He's a real difference maker. They were kind of thin inside with him back. I mean, they competed the whole length of the way at Providence. I think they're feisty. I think the defense travels. They've got size. Typically, Martin's built this as like will be the most athletic team in the Ivy,
Mhm.
and maybe they're not quite that right now, but they've got a lot of size, a lot of physicality, and Jenkins is a really talented sophomore point guard that is already way better than he was last year, and I think he'll keep improving.
I think in general, a lot of parity, Ky.
Hmm.
Because I think Dartmouth will be, they were kind of a darling last year too. They're not as good as last year, but McLaughlin always kind of ramps up for conference play. I think you're going to see some convergence. Um, Yale, Columbia, Cornell probably losing, anywhere like the five. Not Yale, I guess Yale's probably an exception, but I think there's going to be a little bit of convergence there, a mushy middle of the standings. Hopefully, that gives you opportunities to bet some dogs in some good spots as they fight for that top four spot in Ivy Madness.
Love it. All right, that was the Ivy. That was the podcast. A quick recap of our bets this week. I got Louisville against Duke. I got South Carolina against LSU. Florida hosting Georgia in a big bounce back spot. Auburn hosting Texas A&M in a big bounce back spot. And then Oklahoma State, I'm taking against UCF after the Knights just rushed the court against the Kansas Jayhawks. Jim, going to you.
I went 4-1 last week, so
Good
come on,
job, by the way.
folks.
Good job, by
Yeah,
the way.
hop on board. I get when it goes well, you mention it. When it
That's
doesn't
right.
go well, you ignore the record. Yeah. I'm going USC and Michigan State under 150.5 on Monday. Then Florida up to -9. I'm going to ride with Michigan up to -25. I just don't think I have a proper number on this team. I think Penn State's going to struggle badly to get any stops in that game. So I ride with the big favorite. South Carolina down to 9. I hope Deaton Thomas doesn't play for LSU. Going to figure that out. Oklahoma State with you as well. Just think it's a home run spot for them. And then my head-to-head against the boys, Columbia +1. That's the Ken Palm line. There's no official line from DraftKings yet on Monday, but I will take the Lions against Cornell.
Let's go to war, Jim. Cornell is one of my 5. I have them, Nebraska, Louisville, Charleston, and then a small little sprinkle on Texas A&M money line. I think
Oof.
the second best bet there is Auburn spread. The worst bet is A&M spread. A&M
Okay.
wins or Auburn by 30, no in between.
Love
Okay,
it.
I like that.
Matty Contrarian. Okay, that does it. Thank you for joining us on the Big Bets on Campus podcast. We are the Three-Man Weave. We'll be back next week with another episode. Good luck on your betting, not just on Monday and Tuesday, but the rest of the week. We'll see you next time. Cheers.